Evening, everybody. Today's whatever time you're watching video is going to be about Dungeons and Dragons. It's another thing I do. I know some of my videos are about Nerf guns, different life tips and things. Today we're going to get into a little bit of D&D. And the reason I like D&D and I play with some friends that I have is because it really involves your brain. It's like an exercise for your brain. You have to imagine yourself in the setting. You have to imagine your character, which may be a reflection of part of you. It may be somebody completely different. It allows you to jump into a role. It's almost like a movie that you can control, kind of, but it's a movie in your mind. And one thing I really like about movies is the story. And the great thing about Dungeons and Dragons, which is shorthand is D&D, what most people say. If you hear people say D&D 5e, it's just the 5th edition. Is the newest rendition of what's out there, set of like parameters that most people go by. That way it just kind of keeps people on the same page. You can always do things like homebrew and stuff. You get pretty crazy. It kind of helps keep things well-rounded and balanced. So today I was coming back to my house from lunch and I just had this idea. This character I wanted to create. Usually you create a character for a specific campaign that you're going to do. This one I just was creating it. And in the process of creating the character, a lot of times I like to go through and actually write out the backstory. Where did they come from? It helps. Mostly in my mind, it gets my creativity, and it's something fun to do, to type out or write out the backstory. And it can help other people understand your character better, and it can really help you to process and understand your character. So the tip of the day, night, whatever time you're watching this, is if you're doing D&D, if you have some time, write out, even if it's just a couple sentences, a little backstory. I like to embellish a little bit because it makes it more creative, more of a creative work. This one is definitely one of my longer backstories. So this guy, he doesn't exactly have a name. For those of you, my phone keeps flashing something. Those of you that do D&D, if you know, it comes from the Elder Scrolls. It kind of is a character type of people, the Argonians. That comes from the Elder Scrolls, which is a video game, and it's kind of started to work its way into some D&D stuff. And in some homebrewing and stuff, some people can use it. It's really similar to lizard folk if you're into D&D and you know that area. So that helps set the scene for the story I'm going to read to you guys. Hopefully you guys can enjoy this. Here we go. From the scene of great and mystic swamplands, known only to the few left out of its culture, comes our crazy character, our hero of Hangry, our kooky cook, our linguist of languish. Not much is to be known about what exactly happened, but the story tends to start with the time Bleep's people were growing increasingly hungry, as resources grew increasingly less. A high-ranking and trusted noble in this mystic society calls a town meeting. Before them he stands to call upon someone, if anyone brave enough, to partake in a task that would save their people and the society as a whole. There's one tragic flaw. It is borderline moral suicide for anyone to try and achieve. Upon hearing this psychotic plan, everyone gasps in shock that such a thing could even be thought of. So Bleep volunteers. After all, Master Noble Edward Claris was a believed friend and trusted man in the society. So Bleep sets out on his quest to acquire the maiden. As he approaches the castle of the nearest kingdom to take all of their money, he sees a small human girl dressed as a princess with many golden-clad guards standing around her as she plays in a field just outside the walls. Bleep instantly hatches an even better plan that should not only save his people for a time, but set them up for life. Instead of stealing Tamriel's gold to buy food, he can kidnap this princess, marry her to Lord Clarus, unite the kingdoms, and be set for life. Believing his plan, he runs up to the Princess Buttercup. Then all of the guards begin to finally guard instead of just watch some weird-looking lizard person that should clearly be working in politics charge at their princess. Next, Bleep runs back to his swamplands with Buttercup, realizing that kidnapping the princess was the best way to achieve their goal. Lord Clarus realizes the potential. To avoid a great schism between the two kingdoms, the Argonians have to agree to a few concessions first. The Tamriels agree to not call upon all their bannerments and allies to eradicate the Argonians, while the Argonians agree to disband from their swamp lands, moving into the kingdom of Tamriel, never to return, and shun the dummy who caused this schism. Not wanting to die, Lord Clarus quickly takes the shunning of Bleep to the next level for fear of displeasing the king of Tamriel. He is not only shunned, but beaten tragically for the amusement of the king in a very gruesome and public manner. All of this in such grave detail that it is forbidden, yes, forbidden, to give even the slightest of specifics for those who know what exactly happened that day. All of a sudden, a great beast swoops down, grabs Bleep by the waist, and carries him off into the sky until people can see neither of them anymore. They land in the cave of this beast, fearing that he is there as food for the underlings of this thing. Bleep quickly runs deeper and deeper and deeper into the cave so as to hide. Through a small slit in the wall, he finds a tiny creature. They quickly become friends. Great friends. Watching out for each other, finding food, caring for each other's wounds, keeping each other warm, exercising, and even playing games to pass the time. Until one day, the vast creature that brought him there finds their nook in the cave and lets out a horrendous roar. Shockingly, his friend begins to roar back, as if they were communicating. It dawns on him that this friend of his is a lost pup of the bigger thing. They eventually break down the wall separating the two of them and begin their welcoming snuggles of a mother and her pup. The mother then tells the friends, in their grunts and groans, to eat or destroy Bleep, as if to suddenly forget all the memories that they made. The two begin to fight. Fangs and claws begin to fly. Scales are flung like frisbees, and many feelings were hurt. In a final attempt to not kill or be killed, Bleep jumps off a cliff at the mouth of the cave, bouncing off trees, rocks, and a small goat. Our hero of heroine now lies in a pile of bones and scales at the foot of this distant, magnificent mountain. When a local goat herder approaches to the sound of innocent mutterings, for the second time in his life, he has been beaten into a pile of mush by someone he cared deeply for. Someone that he had thought would never betray him. He began shouting to the herdsman, who was carrying him back to his town for aid, to pick him up and take him somewhere he could be healed. For some reason, the only thing that would come out of was utter nonsense. The booger gets the boo-boo train. The peach gets much water. And the pillow praises the bed are the only things he can seem to muster. Realizing that this is his new world, a world in which his brain conceives a masterpiece, but his vocals, yes, his vocals, after such travesty that has befallen him, only reap utter disaster. So this is just a backstory that I've created for this character that I may never even use. It's something, just some creativity. I inspire you guys. Get creative. Go out there. Write a little story for fun. I know in school, going through school, in high school and college, I was like, I don't like writing because I have to. I'll never write again. It's actually really good. There's a reason they ask us in school to write stories. It's good for us. It exercises our brain. If we don't exercise our muscles, they go weak. Don't be weak. Exercise your muscles. Be active. I know I need to be active. It's good for our bodies. It's good for our hearts. It's good for our minds. Stay active, my friends, and have a good day.